Most people think trauma breaks people. They're only seeing half the story. Because sometimes trauma does something far stranger. It creates a person who seems impossible to fool. They notice the pause before someone answers a question. They hear the change in someone's voice before anyone else does. They walk into a room and instantly sense the tension no one has spoken about. They predict people's reactions with unsettling accuracy. Friends call them observant. Coworkers say they have incredible instincts. But what if those instincts were never a gift? What if they were a survival strategy that became so deeply wired into the brain that it started looking like intelligence? Here's the paradox. The very experiences that can leave someone emotionally wounded can also train their mind to process the world differently. Faster, more cautiously, more strategically. Not because they wanted to become this way, but because their nervous system decided it was the only way to stay safe. And that's where today's question begins. How do you tell the difference between extraordinary emotional intelligence and a brain that simply learned to expect danger everywhere? Welcome to the channel. If you've ever wondered why some people seem almost impossible to deceive, or why you constantly read between the lines even when nobody else notices anything, this video is for you. Because what you're about to discover isn't just about trauma. It's about a hidden kind of intelligence that rarely gets recognized for what it really is. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover why some of the most insightful people you meet aren't naturally gifted observers at all. We'll explore how childhood experiences can quietly reshape attention, memory, and perception in ways that last for decades. And by the end, you'll understand why what looks like wisdom from the outside may actually come with an invisible price. But before we get there, there's something even more surprising. Many of these people spend years believing they're simply overthinking. They aren't. Their brain is solving a problem that no longer exists. And once you understand why, you'll never look at human behavior the same way again. Here's where most people get it wrong. They assume these individuals were born unusually intuitive. They call them old souls, naturally wise, gifted at reading people. But psychology tells a more complicated story. The brain is not designed to waste energy. It adapts to whatever environment keeps you alive. If your childhood was filled with unpredictability, an explosive parent, constant criticism, emotional neglect, or never knowing what mood someone would be in tomorrow, your brain learned one lesson above all else: pay attention or pay the price. That single lesson changes everything. Research on adverse childhood experiences, often called the ACE studies, has shown that early stress doesn't just shape emotions, it can reshape attention itself. Your brain begins prioritizing potential threats over everything else. In neuroscience, this is sometimes described as hypervigilance, a state where your nervous system continuously scans the environment for signs of danger. In plain English, your brain becomes a security guard that never clocks out. Imagine sitting in a cafe with a friend. Most people notice the music, the coffee aroma, maybe the conversation at the next table. Someone shaped by chronic trauma notices something entirely different. The barista's smile looked forced. The couple by the window stopped talking 3 seconds ago. Their friend's voice became slightly quieter after mentioning work. None of these observations happen deliberately. They happen automatically, long before conscious thought catches up. At first glance, that looks like extraordinary perception. Sometimes it is. But here's the hidden cost. The brain wasn't collecting information because it was curious. It was collecting information because once upon a time, missing a tiny detail could have meant humiliation, conflict, rejection, or worse. That's why these people often seem impossible to manipulate. Not because they're suspicious of everyone, because they've spent years studying human behavior without realizing they were studying it. Every argument became a lesson, every silence became data, every facial expression became evidence, and eventually, people became patterns. Here's the irony that almost nobody talks about. The child who had to predict danger often grows into the adult who can predict people. It's a remarkable ability, but it's also exhausting, because a mind trained to notice everything rarely knows how to stop noticing. Behavioral psychologists have long observed that repeated exposure to unpredictable environments strengthens pattern recognition. Your brain becomes exceptionally good at connecting dots that other people overlook. The challenge is that it also starts connecting dots that don't belong together. A delayed text feels like a rejection. A neutral expression feels like hidden anger. A harmless disagreement sounds like the beginning of abandonment. The same system that once protected you can begin creating false alarms. And this reveals something fascinating. The greatest strength of traumatic intelligence isn't observation, it's adaptation. The real question is what happens after years, sometimes decades, of adapting to a world that no longer exists. Because that's where the story takes a darker turn. But here's the part almost nobody prepares you for. The same mind that becomes exceptionally skilled at reading the world can slowly become trapped inside it. Not because it's weak, because it's still playing by rules that were written years ago. Let's break that down. The first pattern is called borrowed responsibility. When you grow up in an unpredictable environment, you often become responsible for emotions that were never yours to carry. You learn to calm angry people before they explode. You learn to avoid saying the wrong thing. You learn to anticipate disappointment before it arrives. Over time, your brain begins believing that everyone's emotional state is somehow your responsibility. Picture someone entering the office looking unusually quiet. Most people think maybe they're tired. Someone with traumatic intelligence thinks, did I say something yesterday? Are they upset with me? Did I miss a signal? Within seconds, they're replaying conversations that happened days ago. The remarkable ability to understand people quietly turns inward, becoming relentless self-analysis. The problem isn't that they care too much. The problem is that their brain mistakes responsibility for safety. The second pattern is called emotional forecasting. Think of a weather app. It studies patterns to predict tomorrow's forecast. A trauma-adapted brain does something similar with human behavior. It constantly predicts what might happen next. If someone raises their voice, it imagines an argument. If a relationship feels slightly distant, it imagines abandonment. If success finally arrives, it quietly prepares for disaster. Psychologists sometimes describe this as catastrophizing, a cognitive habit where the mind automatically jumps toward worst-case scenarios. It isn't irrational in the environment where it was learned, it was preparation. The difficulty begins when yesterday's survival strategy starts making today's peaceful moments feel suspicious, because safety becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar things often feel dangerous. That's why some people can sit in complete silence and still feel anxious. Their environment is calm, their prediction system isn't. Then comes the deepest pattern of all. The third pattern is identity built around vigilance. Imagine spending 20 years becoming the person who notices everything. You become the friend everyone asks for advice, the colleague who spots problems before they happen, the partner who senses emotional shifts before anyone speaks.
People admire your awareness. They praise your maturity. They call you incredibly intelligent. What they rarely see is the invisible engine driving it all. Constant observation, constant calculation, constant readiness. Eventually, you stop asking the dangerous question, what if I don't have to be on guard anymore? Because if vigilance has protected you your entire life, letting go can feel more frightening than holding on. And here's the hidden consequence. Many highly perceptive people struggle to enjoy the present moment, not because they don't appreciate happiness, because they're busy scanning for the thing that might take it away. They attend a celebration while preparing for disappointment. They receive love while waiting for rejection. They achieve success while expecting it to disappear. It's like watching a beautiful sunset through security cameras. You see everything, but you rarely experience it. Here's the truth that changes everything. The highest form of intelligence isn't predicting every possible threat. It's knowing when prediction is no longer necessary. That realization marks the beginning of healing, because traumatic intelligence doesn't have to disappear. It simply has to stop working overtime. And that's exactly what we'll explore next, how to keep the extraordinary perception you've developed while finally teaching your nervous system that survival is no longer its only job.
So how do you keep the intelligence that helped you survive without carrying the exhaustion that came with it? The answer isn't forgetting your past. It's teaching your brain that the past is no longer your present. That starts with one simple shift. Step 1. Separate observation from conclusion. People with traumatic intelligence often notice something real, but then attach a story to it before they have evidence. You notice your friend replied hours later. The observation is true. They're pulling away from me. That's the conclusion. Those are not the same thing. When you catch yourself doing this, pause and ask a different question. What do I know and what am I assuming? That single sentence interrupts your brain's autopilot. It creates just enough space for reality to enter the conversation. Remember this. Awareness becomes wisdom only when it isn't rushed by fear. Step 2. Let your body vote before your mind does. Trauma doesn't only live in memory, it lives in the nervous system. That's why your body often reacts before your thoughts make sense. Your shoulders tighten, your breathing becomes shallow, your heart speeds up, and then your mind starts searching for a reason to justify those feelings. Instead of immediately believing every anxious thought, ask your body a different question. Am I reacting to what's happening or to what this reminds me of? That single question can completely change the direction of your day. Because sometimes you're responding to the person in front of you. Other times, you're responding to someone who hasn't been in your life for years. Step 3. Practice receiving without preparing for loss. This is surprisingly difficult. Someone compliments you. Instead of simply saying thank you, your mind wonders what they want. A relationship feels peaceful. Part of you starts searching for the first crack. Good news arrives. Another part of you quietly whispers, "Don't get too excited." Your brain isn't trying to ruin happy moments. It's trying to soften future disappointment. But every time you refuse to fully experience joy, you're paying today's emotional price for a future that hasn't happened. So try something different. The next time life gives you something good, resist the urge to analyze it immediately. Just let it exist, even for 60 seconds. Those 60 seconds teach your nervous system something it may have never learned. Safety can be real.
Step 4. Redefine what strength actually means.
Many people with traumatic intelligence secretly believe their value comes from being the one who sees everything, solves everything, and carries everyone. But that's not strength. That's survival wearing a very convincing disguise. Real strength is being able to lower your guard without losing yourself. It's trusting your perception without becoming imprisoned by it. It's allowing yourself to rest without feeling guilty for not being alert. Because the goal was never to stop being perceptive. The goal was to stop believing that constant vigilance is the price of being safe. And maybe that's the greatest misunderstanding about people shaped by trauma. They aren't extraordinary because they suffered. They're extraordinary because they found ways to survive what should have broken them. The tragedy isn't that they became deeply aware. The tragedy is that they often believe they must stay in survival mode forever. But you don't. Your past may explain why your mind became so sharp. It does not decide how the rest of your story unfolds. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your perspective. Have you ever realized that what you thought was overthinking was actually a survival skill you developed long ago? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone finally understand their own. And if you know someone who's always reading between the lines, always noticing what everyone else misses, send them this video. It may help them see that their greatest strength doesn't have to remain tied to their greatest pain. If you're fascinated by the hidden psychology behind human behavior and want more videos that challenge the way you understand yourself and others, subscribe and join us for the next exploration. Until next time, keep questioning what seems obvious, because the human mind is always deeper than it first appears.